November 1934, Cincinnati, Ohio. While the cold poverty of the Great Depression gripped the streets, a baby opened his eyes in a hospital room. His mother, Kathleen Maddox, was only 16 years old. To this young girl, who hadn't yet grasped the meaning of life herself, the baby in her arms was not a miracle. He was a burden, so much so that the name section on the birth certificate was left blank. It simply read, "No Name Maddox," a nameless child. His very entrance into the world was built upon a sense of belonging. Nowhere. The surname Manson, which would soon enter his life, was a legacy from his mother's brief marriage. But for Charles, family was not a warm home. It was a story of abandonments, alcohol-scented rooms, and dark bars where he was nearly traded for a pitcher of beer. When his mother Kathleen was imprisoned for robbery, little Charlie was sent to live with relatives. What he found there was not discipline, but rejection. His uncle would send him to school in girls' clothes to make him a man. Everyone around him was deepening the void inside this silent boy. At just 9 years old, Charles Manson was handed over to the cold hands of the state. Reform schools became his true home. He tried to run, was caught, beaten, and ran again. Each day spent behind those walls built a defense mechanism in Charlie's mind: observation. By 1951, Manson was 17, having spent more than half his life inside institutions. A psychiatrist noted of him, on the verge of aggressive narcissism, a child in need of love, but accepting it from no one. This was perhaps the first written diagnosis of a monster. In his cell on McNeil Island, Charlie picked up a guitar. He discovered music. But his music was more than just notes. He was learning to use his voice like a spell. During the same period, he memorized Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, line by line. Manson turned these tips into a weapon of manipulation. He studied how to feed people's egos, almost like a science. The calendar showed March 21st, 1967. Charles Manson was about to be released. The shocking part was this: Manson was telling the guards he didn't want to leave. "Please don't let me go," he said. "This is my home. I don't know the world outside." But the doors opened. With only a guitar case in his hand and the dark symphony woven by prison walls in his mind, he set out for San Francisco. Charlie had found his hunting ground. He wasn't a wolf wandering among the flower children. He was a mirror reflecting the void in their souls. No one saw him as a criminal. Everyone just saw a charismatic, mysterious man looking into their eyes and saying, "I love you. I understand you." The year was 1967. San Francisco. Haight-Ashbury. The air was thick with the scent of incense, patchouli, and rebellion. Thousands of young runaways were flooding the streets, searching for a home that didn't feel like a cage. They were searching for a father who wouldn't judge them. And there stood Charlie. He wasn't just a man with a guitar. To these broken girls and boys, he was a revelation. He would sit on the sidewalk, play a few chords, and look into a stranger's eyes until they felt seen for the first time in their lives. One by one, they began to follow him. Mary Brunner, Lynette Fromm, young women who had everything to lose, and yet felt they had nothing at all. Charlie whispered to them, "You are not dirty. The world that raised you, the parents that lied to you, they are the ones who are dirty." His words were more addictive than any drug on the street. He wasn't building a gang. He was building a family. Soon, a black school bus began to roll through the California sun, a bus filled with music, laughter, and a slowly growing darkness. Charlie was no longer just a man. He was becoming a king, and his kingdom was about to find its throne in the dust of the desert. As the lights of the city faded away, the black bus began to climb into the dry, golden hills of Los Angeles. They found their home in an old movie set, Spahn Ranch, a place once used for Western films, now a graveyard of rusted props and rotting wood. The owner, George Spahn, was 80 years old and blind. Charlie gave him the girls to take care of him in exchange for a place to live. For the family, the ranch was a paradise. No clocks, no rules, only Charlie's voice. But beneath the California sun, a psychological wall was being built. Charlie began to dismantle their minds. He used LSD not for fun, but for control. Every night, they would take the drug together, but only Charlie would stay sober. While they were lost in hallucinations, he would whisper into their ears. He taught them that their egos must die. He told them to forget their mothers, their fathers, their very names. "You are nothing," he would say. "And because you are nothing, you are everything." In the silence of the desert night, Charlie wasn't just a leader anymore. He was a god, and his followers were becoming a weapon, waiting to be triggered. In the quiet nights of the desert, Charlie began to hear voices, not from gods, but from a record player. The year was 1968. The Beatles released their White album. To the rest of the world, it was music. To Charlie, it was a coded message. He became obsessed with one song, Helter Skelter. In Charlie's twisted mind, the lyrics were not about a playground slide. They were about a coming race war, a war that would tear America apart and leave the family as the only survivors. He called it Helter Skelter. Charlie gathered his followers around the campfire. He told them that the war was coming, and they had to be ready. He told them to build a hole in the desert, to hide until the blood stopped flowing. But as the months passed, the war did not begin. Charlie grew restless. His dream of being a rock star was dying. He had been rejected by the Hollywood elite, by the very people he wanted to be. The anger inside him was boiling over. "If the war doesn't start," he whispered, "then we will have to start it ourselves." He wasn't just a father anymore. He was August 9th, 1969. A hot, heavy night in the hills of Los Angeles. At the end of a quiet cul-de-sac sat a beautiful home, 10050 Cielo Drive. Inside, Sharon Tate, 8.5 months pregnant, was enjoying a peaceful evening with her friends. They were laughing, sharing stories, unaware that the 1960s were about to end in a scream. While Hollywood slept, 4 shadows were climbing the hill. Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Linda Kasabian. They weren't there for money. They were there for destruction. Charlie had given them one simple order: leave something witchy. As they cut the phone lines, the silence became absolute. Their first victim was a boy, just 18 years old, Stephen Parent. He was in the wrong place, at the wrong time. Tex Watson looked at him and said the words that would haunt history. "I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's business." They entered the house like ghosts. What followed was not just a murder, it was a ritual of hate. Sharon Tate begged for the life of her unborn child. She pleaded for mercy, but there was no mercy at Cielo Drive, only the cold steel of a knife and the distorted reflection of a man who thought he was a god. When they left, The word piège was written on the front door, in Sharon's own blood. The world would wake up the next morning, and it would never feel safe again. The blood at Cielo Drive was not enough for Charlie. The next night, August 10th, he got into the car himself. He wanted to show his children how to do it, with more order. They drove through the quiet streets of Los Feliz until they found a random house, the home of Leno and Rosemary LaBianca. Charlie entered first. He tied them up. He looked into their eyes. And then he walked out. He left the killing to his followers. It was a nightmare of silver forks and kitchen knives. On the walls and on the refrigerator, they wrote in blood again, "Death to pigs," "Rise," and the words that Charlie had stolen from a song, "Helter Skelter." Los Angeles was no longer a city of dreams. It was a city of locks and loaded guns. The summer of love was buried under the bodies of innocent people. Charlie believed he had started his war. He believed the world would burn, and he would be the king of the ashes. But the desert was calling him back, and the law was finally starting to listen to the whispers in the dark. The blood was still fresh on the walls when the law finally arrived, but they didn't find a mastermind in a suit. They found a group of dirty, barefoot, broken young people hiding in the dust of Death Valley. When Charles Manson was arrested, he didn't look like a king. He looked like a ghost. But as soon as the cameras turned on, the performance began. The trial of 1970 was not just a court case. It was a circus of the macabre. Manson appeared with an X carved into his forehead. He told the world, "I have X'd myself out of your world." His followers, the girls who had killed for him, sat outside the courthouse, laughing. They carved the same X into their own skin. They were still under his spell, even from behind a steel door. Manson didn't use a lawyer to defend his life. He used the witness stand to attack the world. He looked at the jury and said, "I am only what you made me. I am only a reflection of you." The death penalty was handed down, but a change in the law saved his life. Charlie was destined to spend the rest of his days in a cage, but he had already achieved what he wanted. He was no longer Name Maddox. He was the face of evil itself. November 19th, 2017. In a cold hospital room in Bakersfield, Charles Manson took his final breath. He was 83 years old. He died as he lived, a man without a home, a man without a soul. But he didn't die in silence. Even after 50 years, his name was still a whisper of terror in the American psyche. What did he leave behind? 7 victims, shattered families, and a world that lost its innocence in a single night. He proved that words, when spoken into the right ears, can be more dangerous than any weapon. He proved that love can be twisted into hate, and that a father figure can become a monster. The summer of love is long gone. The flowers have wilted, and the songs have faded. But the ghost of Charles Manson still haunts the shadows of our society. He is a reminder that the most terrifying monsters are not born in caves, but in the voids of a lonely childhood. Charlie is gone, but as we look into the darkness of the past, we must ask ourselves, are we truly safe? Or is there another Name Maddox out there, searching for a family and waiting for his turn to speak? Sleep well and stay curious.